Look at any major highway in India today, and the physical makeup of the traffic is visibly different than it was even 2 years ago. Electric vehicles are no longer outliers. They are a standard part of the constant flow of transit across the country. In April 2026, India recorded 2.39 lakh EV sales, a 41% increase over last year, but it sits slightly below March's peak. Some observers view this month-on-month dip as a sign of cooling demand. Viewed in context, this easing is a typical market correction following a record-breaking peak. The broader trajectory remains upward, suggesting that April represents a stabilization of the market rather than a loss of momentum. However, looking only at the total volume misses the most significant detail in the April data. The total sales number hides a shift in the specific types of electric vehicles that Indian consumers are starting to prioritize. These specific shifts in buying patterns suggest that the path of India's EV adoption is changing, moving away from its original reliance on a single segment to dictate the future of the market. Historically, the Indian EV market has been built on the back of two-wheelers. For years, small-scale electric mobility has accounted for the vast majority of units on the road. The April data shows this foundation is still firm. Of the 2.39 lakh total units sold, electric two-wheelers accounted for roughly 1.49 lakh, maintaining their position as the high-volume leader of the industry. The 23,000 passenger cars sold in April represent a much smaller total volume, but they tell a more aggressive story. While the total number of cars is lower than scooters, this segment is growing at over 40% year-on-year. This reflects a pivot in the market. Adoption is no longer restricted to budget-friendly scooters for short commutes. It is expanding into the premium passenger car segment. As family cars claim a larger share of the growth, electric vehicles are becoming the primary choice for Indian households, rather than a secondary option for local errands. To see the long-term impact of these numbers, we have to look at the entire automotive landscape, including traditional gas and diesel vehicles. This requires measuring EV market penetration, the specific percentage of all new vehicle sales that are electric. This area chart tracks total vehicle sales across all engine types. Even as the total market grows, the band representing electric vehicles is becoming thicker, indicating that EVs are claiming a larger percentage of total annual sales. This rising penetration is persisting despite significant external challenges, such as changes in government incentives and fluctuations in the global economy. The fact that EVs continue to take a larger share of the market during these periods suggests that true buyer demand is now being driven by the product itself, rather than just temporary subsidies. As overall EV market penetration continues to climb, the long-term volume requirements for traditional manufacturing are beginning to shift, forcing automakers to adjust their production capacity for a battery electric future. These macro trends are now hitting the showroom floor, which has become a competitive battlefield for the country's largest automakers. Currently, Tata remains the volume leader in the EV space, with Mahindra maintaining a strong and consistent growth trajectory right behind them. But the landscape is becoming more crowded. New entrants like MG, VinFast, and Maruti are moving aggressively into the passenger car segment to capture the growth we saw in the April data. This increased competition is forcing a faster pace of technical development as brands compete to offer better range, faster charging, and improved software to attract buyers. More importantly, it is leading toward a direct price war. As more giants fight for the same pool of premium car buyers, they will have to adjust pricing downward to remain competitive. The April numbers indicate the market is now characterized by high-volume output and direct competition between established and new players. For the consumer, this data points to a market with more choices, better technology, and more competitive pricing in the near future. For real, no-hype insights into the EV market every day, subscribe to EVs 24/7 and let us know in the comments, do you think this rate of growth is sustainable for the rest of 2026?